Hello, my name is Annalie Seicholtz, and I'm going to be doing my presentation on the service learning project that was completed at Greystone Manor Therapeutic Riding Center. The objectives for this presentation are listed here. So digging in, what is Greystone Manor? Well, Greystone Manor is a facility that allows those with special needs the ability to ride horses with the assistance of a registered instructor. Some of the riders have diagnoses such as autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, developmental delays, social and communication delays, brain or spinal cord injuries, genetic disorders, and many others. Greystone Manor not only works with children, but also adults, and the needs of this population are often social, psychological, and physical. According to Greystone's website, the mission is to enhance the lives of individuals with special needs through equine-assisted activities, and their vision is to grow as a diverse equine-assisted activities program of distinction that is valued in our community and beyond. Here is a video that will just talk a little bit more about Greystone Manor.
Helping individuals with special needs is something that I really believed in. And so to be able to do it through horses is something that's just the best of both worlds.
Helping riders build both confidence and physical strength. Horses are different than other therapeutic animals.
The horses can emulate the movement of walking. And so for someone who's never walked on their own to actually be locomoting and feel the movement of the horse's legs underneath them is quite spectacular.
Greystone Manor Therapeutic Riding Center offers lessons for people with special needs.
We look at what's going to benefit them the most. And that's how the goals in the lesson plan are developed. Not according to this is your disability, but according to this is the person.
Some riders are as young as 3 years old, while others are in their 70s.
It's great because you see them progress over time, and you see them have these goals in mind, and then they continue to work towards those goals using our equine friends.
It's safety first here at Greystone Manor TRC. Every rider has to wear a helmet, and they also have these rainbow reins that help the riders learn the proper hand position as well as safety stirrups.
The sidewalkers are watching out for the safety of the rider. The leader is watching out for what's going on with the horse.
The organization is mostly run by over 200 volunteers who strive to help riders achieve their goals.
I had a rider one time who said something about me wanting to show off what I've taught her. And I said, no, that's not what it's all about. This is what you have accomplished. All I did was open the door. You walked through.
In Lancaster, Irene Snyder, WeTown.org.
A little bit more about Greystone Manor. So as a nurse, one of the biggest roles that I play a part of is being a patient advocate. Part of being this advocate is being able to address any social, political, economic, and cultural issues that patients might have. While doing so, I often recruit other individuals that can help me with these issues, such as case management, financial service, and so on. Both children and adults with special need face social justice issues. These individuals typically have issues with mobility, and these children cannot participate in the same activities as a child without disabilities. At Greystone, even if a child or adult is wheelchair bound or has issues walking, they still get the ability to ride, to participate in an activity just like anyone else. The healthcare professional must also be able to address the political and economic issues that a special needs population faces. Often these individuals need financial assistance from the government. By creating that interdisciplinary team, we are able to help these individuals. At Greystone, the rider's lessons fees are based off the individual salary or the family salary. In some cases, some students are on scholarships. This makes riding at Greystone attainable and affordable to all. Lastly, as a healthcare professional, we need to provide culturally competent care. Like always, we must frequently be asking and consistently educating ourselves on other people's cultures. This is not any different at Greystone. Everything and everyone here is very culturally accepting. So a little bit more about my service learning project. I made this project happen by reaching out to a volunteer coordinator through Greystone's website. Once emailed, I was set up with an orientation date. There were a few requirements on top of this orientation that I needed to complete. I needed to have my child abuse clearance and my criminal background checked. Once completed, I was able to volunteer as needed over the past 2 months. I spent over 30 hours volunteering at Greystone Manor, and most of the time was spent by sidewalking. Many of the riders have different levels of physical disabilities. The role of the sidewalker is to assist the rider during lesson. Sometimes, this means more of a hands-on approach, using appropriate holding techniques to support the rider on the horse. Or sometimes it's as little as walking next to the rider throughout the lesson. A sidewalker is there to make sure that no matter what the rider's needs are, the rider is safe throughout the lesson, and this allows the instructor to focus on the therapy of the riding. Additionally, a few of my hours were spent specifically in the barn, participating in barn duty. While I did not have direct contact with riders during these hours, I felt that it was important to see the behind the scenes or the dirty work of what happens here at Greystone. I was involved in grooming horses as well as sweeping and cleaning stalls. Since I have never worked with horses, I thought this time would allow me to get a little bit more comfortable and therefore understand their body language better. This in return helped me become a better sidewalker because I was able to pick up the horse's emotions and cues, which provided overall better safety to our riders. Lastly, another part of my volunteer time was helping with special events. One of these events was Aaron's Acres, a summer camp for special needs. They came to visit the barn a few times. Their time spent at the barn was probably my favorite. I helped with a stand called Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. At my stand, we discussed and showed the horse's anatomy with one of our barn residents, Wizard. Here we were able to paint the horses with a special glitter that was safe to the horse and able to visualize their anatomy. It was really fun, and some of the riders got really creative. Here are some pictures from my service learning project. On the left, this is Makita. We braided her hair and got her all ready for the horse show. And then on the right here is Wizard on the day of Aaron's Acres, painting him and getting him looking all pretty. So some project revisions. This project was spent mostly with hands-on time with the population that was in need. This was completed during the volunteering during lessons and during the other special activities. If this project would be revised, I would continue to work and volunteer time during lessons, but I think I would have liked to have a little bit more time in the back office learning about more and how to participate in rider sponsorships. Like stated before, while some of our riders pay for their lessons, most of our riders qualify for scholarships based on financial status and need. I would like to learn a bit more about this selection process. So my service learning objectives here for this project were: first, the student will learn how to safely perform an emergency dismount off a horse prior to participating in lessons. The student will assist in sidewalking 4 times by the end of the 6-week session. And the student will learn how the Therapeutic Riding Center benefits the rider therapeutically by the end of volunteer hours. So how were these met? Well, as stated, the first objective was learning how to safely perform an emergency dismount. This was extremely important to learn and master prior to working with any of the riders during a lesson. As a volunteer, our job is to make sure that the rider is safe throughout the entire lesson. That being said, working with a horse means that you must always be prepared for the element of surprise. Horses can be startled easily by loud noises, smells, and even weather. I successfully met this objective by learning and practicing an emergency dismount during my orientation process. I was observed by instructors to make sure that I mastered the skill prior to being placed on the schedule to help sidewalk in a lesson. With working in the hospital, it was a challenge for me to dedicate a set schedule because my nursing schedule rotates. So in order to meet my second objective, I substituted in lessons that the other sidewalkers were unable to attend. This was done by a list of open dates that was emailed to all the volunteers before and throughout each session by our volunteer coordinator. I was able to fill in as needed, and this meant that I was able to meet my objective of sidewalking in a lesson 4 times during a 6-week session. Lastly, over my 2 months and 32 hours of volunteer time, I learned quite a bit about Greystone Therapeutic Riding Center. Because of this time, I was able to meet my last objective. These riders gained so much from their lessons. Each lesson provides physical benefits such as loosening stiff muscles, toning core muscles, and working on fine motor skills. This is accomplished by maintaining balance, sitting tall, and using hands and feet to help the horses follow commands with reins and stirrups. Riders also provided a social therapy. Some of these students are shy or have a difficult time with communication. Riding helps them with not only the interaction between humans, but also provides the beneficial social interaction between a horse and a rider. When discussing the impact on the population of special needs, Greystone Manor provides a modern style therapy that combines the traditional therapies of speech, physical, and occupational therapy into one therapy itself. With the use of a horse and a trained instructor, therapy can be provided to help both children and adults with special needs overcome physical and social disabilities. The special needs population faces certain social justice issues with the lack of ability to move or speak like a person without a disability. Greystone Manor Therapeutic Riding Center is a place created to help overcome these injustices. With trained professionals and a safe setting of equality to all participants, riders can come to receive therapy while also having a good and enjoyable time. Professionally, what I took away from this experience was quite a bit. I work in the trauma neuro unit at Lancaster General Hospital. Many of my patients, once stable, have quite a long road of recovery ahead of them. Often this means that they will need extensive therapies before and after discharge. As stated before, what Greystone excels at is that the riders do not just come for the therapy. They come for the fun of riding. As a nurse, I want to be more creative in my ways of providing therapy and strength training at work. If the patient enjoys a task, they are more likely to do the work and therefore reap more of the benefits. As I can help prepare my patients for their recovery, I would also be very happy to recommend therapies such as Greystone. Another way that this service learning project has impacted me professionally is that I learned a lot about many different disabilities such as Down syndrome and cerebral palsy. I learned that sometimes making simple modifications to a task will help the rider's independence. I would like to relate this information that I've learned into my nursing practice because I want to be able to make sure that my patients feel the same way as the way my riders did. And lastly, this project impacted me so personally. I went into this class and this project with the mindset that it was the last thing standing between myself and my graduation from my bachelor's degree. What I walked away from this project is a new love and a new passion. I was amazed at what happened at Greystone Manor. I found myself love being at the barn, seeing regular riders, and watching their progression over a 6-week period. Some of my best summer memories were at the barn. Often I would pick up lessons after a 12-hour day of working at the hospital, and I would come home finding myself in a much better mood than I had left work. This project has impacted me so much that I am still currently volunteering at Greystone Manor, and I will be continuing to do so for the next years or so. Thank you so much for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed.